Call with Dads, your podcast for unscripted conversations and honest opinions about what matter to dads. Join the call in this journey called fatherhood. Now here are your hosts to get things started. E.A. Maynard, the man of many words, and some of them could make sense.
Hi, I'm E.A. Maynard.
Along with Mr. Pancakes, who is working to bring back family traditions starting with breakfast.
This is Mr. Pancake, and this is Call with Dads.
Perfect. So it sounds like we're all ready, so let's just dive in and start discussing this a little bit better, a little bit more. So, Jonathan, we appreciate you being here on the show. It's nice to have you on as a guest. I've been following you on Twitter, which you're there as the Evolved Dad, which to me the name just kind of stands out to you because there's so many different levels you can take that on. So for the people that don't know you that are listening to our show, can you tell them a little bit about yourself and how you became the Evolved Dad?
Sure. So I'm married now for almost 15 years, and I have 5 kids. My youngest is 4. My oldest is almost 13. And I wasn't always a great dad. When I got married, I didn't necessarily have guidance on what it looked like to be a real dad, as I like to differentiate a little bit between being a father and a dad. Being a father, it's biological. Just by default, you become a father. But being a dad is really putting in that effort and really giving over to your kids. And I didn't really have that true understanding, that true sense of what it meant to be. To me, growing up, you had to work hard, make money, to go on vacations, to support your family, to have a good life. And over time, from different interactions, I slowly saw how that wasn't the way. That wasn't what I wanted for myself. That wasn't what I wanted for my kids, for my wife. And over time, these things started clicking little by little. Over COVID, there was a point, my youngest was actually in the hospital. Thankfully, it wasn't COVID, but it was a respiratory issue at the beginning of COVID. So I got to spend a lot of time with my 4 other kids while my wife was in the hospital for a week or two with our youngest. And it was just really nice. I hadn't ever experienced it. I mean, the longest vacation I ever took was maybe a day or two. I worked very hard and put my time in. And one day, after my wife had come back from the hospital, we were sitting outside. And one of the things we had done during COVID was I dug up a small pond in our backyard with the kids. It's about like 6 feet by 8 feet, like 2.5 feet deep. And I built a bench with them. So we had a bench by the pond, so we built like a nice little scene. And my wife and I were sitting there. I said to my wife, I was like, this is so nice. I don't ever remember having this. We're married already it was 10, 12 years at the time. And just sitting down and enjoying time with the kids and just looking back, even though it was a stressful week or two, but being able to not be stressed about work, but being concerned about a child and just being there with my kids and speaking with my wife, and especially when she came back and just being there together as a family, it really clicked in a way that it had never clicked before. Like, this is how it should be. My kids were happy to see me around to play. Like, they had remote classes that sort of didn't work, but we made the best of it.
Right.
But from morning till night, like, I made sure that we had exercise time and we were moving around and just all the craziness. Like, we were a family. And that really, that was like the final piece where just like everything took off from there. Like, it was slowly little pieces by little pieces, but that was like a big change. That was, I saw something that I had never seen. I felt something that I had never felt. And taking it from there, listening, combining all the motivational stuff and all the other different pieces that I had put together and heard over the years and building on that, just really to start changing my family.
All right. Well, to me, it sounds like between you, me, and Mr. Pancakes, Mr. Pancake and I are kind of similar age group of our kids. I have a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old. He has a 4-year-old coming on to 5. And you, obviously, like you said, your youngest is my close to my oldest's age. So, what what really made you? Because it's easy to go for a week, do all this, and then say, okay, well, I have work. I have to do this. I mean, evolving is not just a when you evolve, it's to being a dad, using the terminologies the father's biological, the dad is a choice. When you made that choice to actually be a good dad, what was it that you did and what made you decide to actually become the evolved dad?
So evolving was definitely a process. It's definitely a continued process. There was a lot of failure along the way. There was a lot of things like, you know how it is, to get all excited about something, jump in for like a week or so, and then boom, it's gone. So it was a lot of trying different things and over time finding what did work, because there was still something that had clicked that wasn't going away. Like there was something there, even the times that I may have fallen off of what I was doing. But I would say that probably the one thing that has changed my approach the most is a practice called the perfect day. And the perfect day is you basically sit down and you write out, what do you envision as your perfect day? If you could live your perfect day every single day, what does it look like from morning till night? From your workouts to when you're spending time with your wife, when you're spending time with your kids, your breakfast, your supper, whatever it may be, you're filling out what your perfect day looks like. And then taking that, breaking it down into little accomplishable goals, and then slowly working towards that day. So it's a combination of things that I had learned over the years and then filling it all in with this perfect day practice. That's really what's primarily solidified it for me. Because if, for example, I want to be able to have a sit down breakfast with my wife every day. At this point, it's not realistic. I want to have a sit down lunch with my wife every day. At this point, it's not realistic. Okay, I understand it's not realistic, but what had I do to get closer to that goal? So for lunch, for example, it happens to be both my wife and I work from home, but it doesn't necessarily give us the time together. We both have busy schedules.
Mm-hmm.
So that could be just going downstairs and saying hello to my wife. I can't sit down for an entire lunch, but I can make that little step. I may not be able to sit there and spend an hour or two with my kids every day, but I can spend 5 minutes and I can make sure that I'm doing that every day. And what's really one of my core ideals is using charts. I use it for myself and I use it for my kids because you don't have to keep it in your head. I put a chart on my wall next to my bed, and every single day I had an exercise routine. I have time to spend with my kids, time to spend with my wife, and anything else that I was working on that I needed to shape as a long-term goal. That's really been the core of the build out of what has changed me as an evolved ed. And I don't want to say it's foolproof, but it's pretty much foolproof. If you actually are committed to changing, using these few pieces is life changing. And then switching over to how I became the evolved ed, it's an interesting story. So I started out on crypto Twitter actually, and I do IT for a living. So I started out, it was cool, understanding like what's going on in crypto and all these different things. Got a little bit overwhelming, and I got pulled into DGen crypto Twitter. So started investing in meme coins and all this sort of stuff, making money, losing money, having a blast. And it came to a point where some of the people in the circles that I was in lost ridiculous amounts of money. It wasn't like any of these big crashes that everybody was talking about. But if you were in crypto at the time, you were aware of what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And people were taking their lives. And that really shook me to my core. I was like, people have to realize there's more to life than, I understand they came from literally nothing, made all this money, but to link your identity to the money that you made that you can make again, that's just not cool. You're lacking that fulfillment. That's not okay. And I started trying to put out motivational content and trying to get other people to do it with me. Eventually I came across Clint Murphy. He was much smaller at that point, and chatted with him in the DMs. And he gave me a few ideas of what to go, courses to take, like to improve my writing and to help make a difference in the world. And then the end of last year, I started with trying to figure out what that new account was going to look like. Because I knew that my old account was too deep into crypto Twitter, that it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't going to be able to have enough of an effect. It was just looked at, that was just the type of account I had. So I started out a new account, this going through a few different revisions, we'll say. And I joined a cohort beginning of 2023. And at which point the Evolved Dad came to life. And that's where it's been from there.
Sounds interesting. Now,
Yeah,
I'll,
that's pretty interesting.
so I'll let Mr. Pancake jump in on this, but one thing that kind of stuck out to me is you were talking about, it definitely rings true. I've seen, like, I've lost a nice chunk of money, nothing that really affect me too much, but enough that crypto, I was sitting there going, okay, I'm stepping away from this. But
Yeah,
I do
stayed away from
see,
that stuff. I wasn't about to get involved in crypto at all. No,
well,
thank you.
it kind of reminded me of the stock market crash back in the 20s when you heard about that, and people taking their lives, this and that, everything connected to their identity. And it's, I guess the question rings to me is it, do you feel like these people that were taking their lives, their identity was stuck to the money because they had nothing else in their lives? Because I personally, and I think Mr. Pancake and I have discussed this prior, where I think maybe even on our first show, where once we became a dad, and at least for me, once I got married, I realized I had somebody else I had to watch out for. But once I became a dad, then things were different. Then we had to focus on our kids, and that was our lives. Do you think
Yeah.
that was kind of the difference in things, or with you versus other people, or do you think there was something there?
It could be. Obviously, we'll never know. I feel like that even as a dad and having a responsibility, you have to really acknowledge the fact that you're a dad. You have to appreciate the fact that you're a dad, that you have other people. And I don't know that it's such a base level thought that people have even thought of, because I find, especially, I live in New Jersey. So, New York, New Jersey, things are moving very, very fast. And just trying to keep up with the day to day, and especially with technology and all that stuff, it can be a lot for some people. So they're not necessarily thinking about what's going on. They're not necessarily thinking about their family. It's just more in the moment. But taking a step back and realizing what's going on, fulfillment or not, but just taking that step back, that's where I feel like there's a big difference. So there's definitely, there's, I guess to your point, there are two aspects of it. There's the lack of fulfillment, but there's also the not taking a step back, not being present in the moment, and realizing that there's a bigger picture and seeing outside of the problem that they're being presented with right now. So, to your point, with being a dad, when that clicks and that you're like, I have a wife, I have kids,
Mm-hmm.
like there's a bigger responsibility. Yeah, from that aspect, it's really more of taking a step back and realizing that this is not the end. This is part of the journey, and there's more to it.
Right.
So, yeah, I would definitely agree with that.
That's kind of where I was with that, with like the whole crypto idea and investing and all that stuff. For me, it was more along the lines of like, wow, just I'm doing all right, and I'm slowly moving up in life. I don't see a reason to try and at this moment in time put my family at risk and leap forward, into something that's, I guess, considered the unknown. Uh, See, that's where I stayed out of it. The whole crypto thing, it was just sole protection of the family, the kid, the wife, stuff like that. Um, I feel like people that would take their lives. I don't know if that would be like something along the lines of uh, where they like disappointed their family, or like they had a family and they lost everything, so they went down the rabbit hole, or they didn't have a family, they had nothing, money was it. I don't know. That's kind of weird. It's kind of an interesting place to be when you're investing in a lot of stuff like that.
So, a lot of the people that were losing, I can't say that I recall every person
Hmm.
that was in that situation, but a number of them were younger, had rough childhoods.
Right.
Um, Even where they were in life at that point wasn't necessarily the most stable, necessarily.
The rough
So,
childhood seems to be a commonality with suicide.
yeah, and that's one of the most important things about being a present father and
Right.
being a dad. It's like I tell my kids, I'm not here to tell you and to experience life for you. I'm here
Right.
to help you and to guide you to the best of my abilities and to give you the tools so that you can succeed in life, because I'm not always going to be here. I'm not
Right.
always going to be here to, step up to the plate and help you out. So I
Yeah.
want to make sure that you have everything that you need to the best of my abilities. And those abilities are going to improve every day.
Right.
But I want to make sure that you have what you need so that when you get to those tough situations, you can take that step back and realize, okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to get through this. Let me think how I'm going to do it.
Right.
Let me shift gears because
Yeah.
one, the crypto conversation seems to be kind of depressing, and it's too
Yeah.
early in the morning for us. I haven't even got through my first coffee to be down yet. So let's shift over to the fact of, you said that when you first realized during the beginning of COVID time when your kid was in the hospital, which still a depressing thing, but your kid came out okay from how it sounds, so yay. And you then started taking steps and became, you're already a dad. You were a dad. I assume at the time you had a connection with your kids, but once you decided to be, I'm assuming, emotionally, physically, and mentally present and focus on your kids, what difference did you notice, or if you've even noticed any difference between just being the father there and taking the steps versus being the dad, being involved and showing your kid the way, showing your kids?
So I don't think it was a change right away. It was more of a realization that there's more to this than what I have. And over time, it was just becoming by realizing that I wanted more for my family, changed into over time realizing that I want more from myself, because I can only give over as much as I know. And the only way that I can truly give it over is through my actions.
Mm-hmm.
So I can stand there and preach and lecture all day, but it's going to go absolutely nowhere. But as long as I am doing what I want to give over to my kids, I'm practicing, I'm living that. I'm getting up early, I'm working out, and my kids see that and they know that. And I'm putting in the work. And when I'm with them, I am constantly working on being present with them. Yes, there are
So,
definitely times where like my phone rings or whatever, and I'll pick it up not thinking about it. You could have, I mean, my kids laugh all the time. I'll be sitting on the couch, maybe reading a book or doing some homework with them, and I'll just get ridiculous amounts of messages or phone calls or whatever, be it work or personal. I've taken my phone and just thrown it across the room.
well, being
But
in IT, I can see that.
it's just to make a point. It's like,
Right.
and they're like, my kids will start laughing, like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "We're sitting here. I'm spending time with you now, or I'm doing homework with you now, and that's disturbing. So I'm getting rid of it." Like they have to, I want them to appreciate the fact that they're more important than my work will ever be. They're more important than any favor that I can do for anyone else.
So, well, that makes sense. And, I'm right there with you. I know Mr. Pancake has mentioned that as soon as he's home with his family, he puts his phone elsewhere. So any messages, anything don't come in and bother him. Me, I've gotten in such a habit that it's always in my pocket because I do. Now, mind you, I don't get, like years and years ago, I worked in the IT industry, where I fixed people's computers for small businesses. Drove me nuts with all the calls, all this. Got away from that, went completely different, became a food service or a restaurant kitchen designer.
Cool.
So, completely other side of the world comparably. But I keep my phone on me because I do, like, my son loves to ask questions.
Hmm.
And, for me, at his age, being 5, about to turn 6 come, oh, criminy, April. I know it's bad to have to think about it, but the fact is at his age, he asks a lot of questions, and he expects me to know all the answers. Obviously, I have no clue on a quarter of the things or even half the things he says. I mean, and I imagine doing homework, you're probably sitting there with a 13-year-old all the way down to a 4-year-old scratching your head on some of this stuff going, what is this? So I have my phone on for Google searches and things like that, but again, I don't get many messages after hours. What do you find the benefit of, I don't know how long this realization has been for you, in how long you've been working at it, improving. Once you had this realization, what was it that made you actually, well, I guess that's the wrong way of wanting to ask the question. What actually got you to evolve in the sense of, you decided, there's the realization, I understand that. But what was it that got you to simply go, okay, this was my first step. This is what I need to do? Because we all have those steps, and we all have goals that we say, okay, this is where we want to go. Be evolving, usually when a person has that mindset, they think, okay, this is where I want to go. I want to be better at this. What was it that made, what was your focus to evolve on? Not just, okay, I'm gonna get better at making my charts. I'm gonna get better at putting the phone away or this or that. What was the main focus of evolving for you?
The main focus was getting to that point, really. There was no, it was more of a big picture goal.
Hmm.
And it was realizing that it's going to take a long time. Like I actually have a sign on my door over here that I wanted to do push-ups, 10 push-ups a day for 2 years. And I remember some of my kids saw it and they're like, 2 years? Like, that's a long time. It's like, yeah, that is a long time. But that's going to make sure that I'm consistent and that I'm doing it. And I'm going to keep seeing that every day when I walk out of my office. And I'm going to think to myself, did I do my 10 push ups? Because I know that the goal is not the 10 push ups,
Yeah.
the goal is being active. And once you're active and you start with one thing, it's almost like an addiction. Like your
Yeah.
body hungers for it. So you do those 10 push
20,
ups.
15, 20, yeah.
Yeah, you're going to end up doing jumping jacks or squats, or
Yeah.
you're just going to end up moving more. I
I
Right.
do
literally
about 180 a day.
How much?
About 180 push-ups a day.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah,
crikey.
max out around about 100.
Yeah. It started because I was, like pretty much Captain America when I was in the military, but then I got out of the military and it went just like fat boy, just overweight, chubby, and I was like, no, that's exactly what happened. I started off just like you're talking about, 10 a day, turned into 20 a day, turned into doing body weight squats, turned into getting 20-pound dumbbells, turned into 100 push-ups a day, and it just kept going. And
And that's literally what it is. It's literally taking those small ideas
yeah,
for the long term with a big picture goal in mind. But
yeah,
you break it down. That's like the whole concept of the perfect day. So if you use that
right,
analogy, that's exactly it. Part of your perfect day is, for example, I want to work out for an hour a day, for argument's sake, whatever it is. You start off with 5 minutes. Go for a walk for 5 minutes, but do it
mm,
consistently for a week, and then 2 weeks, and then a month. And then over
yeah,
time it changes, but realizing that it's not going to change tomorrow. And there was one saying that I can't remember who said it. It took you 30 years, whatever the number is, to mess up your life this much. It could take you another 30 years to turn it back around.
really
Like,
fix it.
don't
Yeah,
expect it's going to be overnight. It's progressive loss that you're experiencing. Now you have that progressive gain. But you
right,
got to be committed to it. So that's the thing. As long as you're committed to whatever it is, and that's why I like hanging things on the wall. I like hanging
mm,
things in a place where I'm going to see them every day. That could be on a closet door. That could be by your bed. That could be by an office, wherever you want to put it. And when I have my charts up, I specifically have it, depending on what it is, I have it either by my bed, so my wife is seeing it every day, or it may even be downstairs where my kids are seeing it every day. There was a point in time where I had a sign up in our playroom that said, Daddy's no phone zone. And for 2 months, I would not bring my phone into the playroom. If my phone rang, I got up, I went to the other room to see what was going on, and then I came back because I
yeah,
wanted to focus on making sure that I'm focused with the kids. And it wasn't working to have my phone on me.
yeah.
So
Doing
when
this.
you have that big picture goal, yeah, exactly. When you have that big picture goal in mind and you realize that it's going to take time and it's progressive, you can be more patient with yourself.
Right.
If you don't have it hanging somewhere, it's somewhere in your mind with everything else. It's somewhere on your phone with everything else. How many
Yeah.
things do we have to do lists? And oh, I got to take care of this and that, but it gets lost because
Yeah.
we don't have it in front of our faces. But when you create that environment where you have it in front of you every single day, and you've made it simple little things to help you accomplish those goals, that's where you're going to evolve. That's really what
Yeah.
it's all about. It's just starting with those simple steps.
Simple, small things. That makes sense. I mean, those are good ideas, because that's kind of where I started with a lot of stuff, learning to be better overall. Uh, for me, yeah, it was because I knew uh, being unhealthy. My wife's mom is, or my wife's dad is like 400 pounds. Super nice guy, awesome dude. He's active, but he's just a bigger guy. He doesn't really not eat the extra steak. You know what I mean? If it's there, he's just not gonna eat it. So that's just kind of how he is. And I look at that type of lifestyle, and I'm like, I don't. I need to be here when my kid has a kid. I need to be around. You know, and that's kind of where I started doing the same thing, like evolving. You know, figuring out a way to move forward. Uh, and I started, chopping how much I eat. Like I take my meal and I just get my meal and I throw half it away, eat half it. I actually do it all the time. It's wasteful. I know, I get it. There's kids in Africa. I understand, but
Hold on, hold on,
sorry.
hold on. To that point, something a few months ago, somebody said about that exact point. They were saying that, we say, oh, there's a little bit of fries left over. I'm just
Right.
going to eat them because I don't want to waste it.
Dump it.
What do you mean you don't want to waste it? You're either throwing it in the garbage, so it's going to be wasteful,
Yeah.
or you're going to hurt yourself because
Right.
you're now putting the extra garbage into your body that you're going to have to work harder to get out of your body so that you don't have to go on medication or die
Yeah.
early.
Yeah. See, so you got a great point there. So either way you look at it, that food is going to be gone. It's either in a negative way or just in a neutral way.
If somebody has so many leftovers, maybe they should cut down on what they're making or what they're buying. That's a
Yeah.
different conversation.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to that last little bit on the plate, if you're full,
Right.
move on.
Yeah. Right. And we do that as well. Like you said, cut down on what you're buying,
Yep.
and cut down on what we make. We've restricted, like, because like before I would like go to Publix or whatever and get three like massive steaks, and I mean we between the three of us, me, my wife, and my daughter, we'd probably eat one and a half, and there'd be a little bit a bunch left, and I would sit there and kind of do one of these and do that, and a couple more of this, a little bit more of that, whatever. And like it just wasn't worth it. I just kept finding myself like more and more like drained, tired, wore out, not wanting to work out, not wanting to get up. So just started with small stuff like that to move forward. Cut down on what you buy, cut down what you make overall. So now I think I probably make one steak, and we split it three ways. And
Wow.
my daughter's 5, so she eats like this much. So it's basically split into two ways, and
Right.
one bite goes to my daughter.
You ever
Now,
try the smaller plate thing?
I'm gonna
Yeah.
jump in here real quick because one thing you both are talking about cutting down portions, this and that. Now in my house, because one is like you said, once you said earlier, once you start doing stuff, you get addicted to keep doing stuff. Right now, I have so many things going on. It's crazy, and with that, leftovers is our saving grace. So I'll cook, say, like last night, my wife had some chicken that she marinated from a previous meal that she didn't cook all of it. I took that chicken, threw it in with some tomatoes, and threw some seasoning in, turned that into a whole meal. We had a little bit left over. My wife took the leftovers in with her for lunch today.
No, yeah.
So
But we do that too.
yeah.
I
So one
my,
thing is
my wife makes a big thing of cabbage soup, and we'll eat that for like a week.
so one thing is not saying you have. I understand what you guys are saying simply by saying cut down your portions, things like that, or cut the meal halfway. Me, like I have my son Todd now. If he has food left over, he makes sure that he'll have like the clean food that can be reused or saved for later. And then the food that can't be, he'll kind of scrape it off over to the side. And then he'll take his plate out and put it in the kitchen. Mind you, that took some work to get him to do. But the fact is we can also take that food and today for lunch, he'll have pasta and leftover meatballs from 2 days ago. So plan it because I'd say if you are cooking at home, the benefit of it is the leftovers.
Yeah.
So if you're taking a full portion, don't fill your plate up even get a smaller plate.
Right.
That's one thing that I found that I've heard some people say, like, my wife has for people that can't see, my wife uses a small plate about this size. I have the big dinner plates that I use, but I have a lot of empty space on my plate because one is, and I'll put a little extra on because my kids love to steal my food from me. And so I know, and that's always why they end up with leftovers, is because they steal a lot of my food. So
Mhm.
I plan accordingly. But the fact is I think, and correct me if I'm wrong here, where you guys are going with this isn't about just throwing away food for, make sure
Yeah.
there's a thing called the sunk fallacy or sunk cost fallacy where you've already spent the money for, if you go to a all you can eat buffet, you've already
Yeah.
spent the money for the food, you don't
Might as
have
well
to
shovel in
eat.
as much as you can.
Exactly. And some people have that mindset of, I've already paid for this, I've already gotten it on my plate, et cetera, et
Yeah.
cetera. It's like
Right.
that dessert. Well, you can take that leftover or that half and have it for the next day.
Yeah.
You so somebody's sitting there going, "Oh, you're wasting." Well, if you don't want to waste it, throw it on in a Tupperware container or something and have it
Right.
for another day.
I
I
mean,
mean, if I'm off base, let me know.
for me, I mean, don't get me wrong. You know, I, for all intensive purposes, am still a man. You know, so if there's a fat, juicy cheeseburger in front of me and some disgusting smothered in ketchup fries and maybe a big old pepperoni pizza, you know,
Don't forget the
don't get
bacon.
me, yeah, with bacon or something on it. Don't get me wrong. You know, I am no stranger to getting stupid with some food. You know, but for the most part on your general daily life, it's all about general control. You know, portions of it are going to ultimately be, you know, make less food for yourself and your family if necessary. I mean, don't starve yourselves, obviously, you know, but you know, you just overall, if you're eating too much food and being overweight, you got to find that way to lessen that intake so you can overall, you know, help yourself be more manageable in life. You know, if taking how we're talking about, you know, cutting down the amount of food you make, maybe throwing away half of it or whatever. Um, you know, those two scenarios, and the other way is like how you're talking about, you know, making a bunch and just only serving yourself a little bit, take the rest and save it for another day. We actually do both. You know, like I said, my wife makes a pot of cabbage soup. I mean, it's delicious. Cabbage, beef, tomato sauce, all kinds of nonsense. And like we'll eat it for like a week. My wife will literally eat cabbage soup every day for a week for lunch. You know what I mean? I don't
Right.
really like cabbage. It's kind of gross to me. So it's good for me to eat it because I'll eat like half a bowl and be like, I'm all wore out for the day. She loves it. I think it's okay. It's good, but I'm not a fan of cabbage. So it's kind of good because it makes me not eat. But there's just ultimately speaking, there's just different ways of dealing with it. Um, whatever works best, I feel, but I do feel ultimately trying to make less food for yourself. Well, obviously you don't have it in front of your face. That's a lot of people's, um, you know, vice, I guess. If it's in front of you, you're gonna eat it.
Yeah.
So,
So it's
but
I would say like yeah, it's pretty much a mindset
mhm.
because you know, I hate using that word. Um, when it comes down to it, you can take the food and use it for leftovers. It's great. That the question
Right,
is when you have that one little bit left on your plate that's not going to
right,
go get put away for leftovers. You're like, doesn't make sense to
yeah,
put this tiny
Right.
small amount. Like, what am I going to do
right,
with it? I might as well just eat it. Yeah, but you didn't think about what the repercussions are. That's like, think about it. You have a fire in front of you. Are you just going to stick your hand in because the fire's there? I hope not. I mean, maybe some people would, but like, think of it like that. Is this serving me or is this not? Like, what's my big picture? My big picture is I want to be here. I want to be healthy. I want to be here
right,
for my kids, and I want to be here as long as I can be, hopefully for their kids.
right,
So by eating this bit, what am I doing to my body now? Is this something that's going to help me, that's going to give me the energy to be able to do what I want? Or is it something that I'm going to have to work harder now to get that weight off? Because not only am I eating it now, but the next meal and the meal after that, and for the next 5 years, I'm going to be doing that. Where do I end up if I make that choice now? And people will tell me, "Oh, you're overthinking it." Okay, I guess we'll meet up in however many years and we'll see where we are. Because when it comes down to it, it's with everything in life. It's not just food.
Yeah. When you're on diabetic medication and I'm not.
What are you doing today to serve yourself in 5, 10, 20 years?
Right. We went to yesterday was my daughter's 5th birthday, so she's finally 5. So her favorite restaurant is Flounders over in Pensacola. Man, great place. So we'll run over there, and I like going there because they have like most of their meals or their food is like 20, 21, 22, $25 a plate for each person or whatever. So I'll usually get a meal. My wife will get a salad, and my daughter will get like mac and cheese. And we'll kind of do one of these for the 3 of us, where my wife will have some of mine, I'll have some of hers. So we'll basically get 2 meals and 2 salads out of it and stuff like that. But it still costs $50. But they have really good drinks, and they're really big, and they're like $10 for like a giant, like wonderful drink. So I'll get a couple of those. So, and my daughter loves going there, so we go there. Yesterday, when I ordered my food, I mean, it came out like it was like freaking like that. Like, man, after me, my wife, and my daughter ate on it, it looked like we didn't even touch the thing. So I was like, could I have sat there and eaten more? Absolutely. I could have sat there. I mean, it's all, I got the cheesy bacon macaroni and cheese with fried shrimp inside of it and stuff. So, and it had little tomatoes and stuff in there. Oh man, I'm just sitting there eating cheesy bacony macaroni and cheese. It was so delicious. But I ate enough for me, and I quit. And my wife got her amount, and my daughter got her amount or whatever, and we just kind of ate our amount. And I literally put it in the fridge. We took it home for leftovers. We'll probably eat on it, like small bits. We'll probably make like chicken or something tonight, and take a bit of that for like a side or something. So we do the saving part as well, but I also do like the cutting down overall in certain aspects. It's kind of like half and half.
So let me ask this: you two both seem to be much more on the healthier lifestyle than I am, because mind you, I like there's an exercise bike right here, right behind me. I try to use it, but I'll be honest with you, most of my adventures are running around with my kid or lifting one of them two up and having them wrestle with me.
Yeah.
The only reason I actually eat healthy is mostly because of my wife, who got it in her mind that she wants me to live longer, so she doesn't want me to eat junk.
Right.
With you two intentionally focusing on being healthier, doing your push-ups, doing an ungodly amount of push-ups, things like that.
Sorry.
What do you notice? Do you notice before you started focusing on your health? I don't know how long you two have both been worrying about your health or focusing on it. Do you notice a difference between your lifestyle with your kids versus before you started worrying about your health?
Yeah,
Sure.
you go ahead first.
Oh, total difference. Total difference. So as of, I think it's maybe like 7, 8 months ago, I actually started doing intermittent fasting. And I started intermittent fasting because I thought, figured give it a shot. And I've kept it up for one simple reason. I don't really need to eat more. And when I do eat, I'm eating healthier. So for lunch, I'm going to have salmon. I'm not going to have a whole bunch of whatever. And I'm going to focus more on getting my proteins. I'm still going to eat calories. I don't count calories. I don't do any of that stuff. The idea is to fit things into your lifestyle with the least amount of resistance. The more resistance you have, the harder it's going to be for you to maintain. And the difference I've noticed, my wife actually pointed this out to me a few months back. When I used to do yard work on Sundays, I would, especially during the summer, I would come back in. I was so run down. I would be on the couch passed out, and my whole Monday would be ruined. I would not be feeling well the entire Monday. Now, forget about it. I could do all that. Last 2 nights ago, took my kids somewhere. I raced my kids, my 13 and 11-year-old. I beat them. Did a race. It was probably, I don't know, 1,000 feet, give or take. It was just like a quick dash to where we were going. And I beat both of them. And I wasn't huffing and puffing. I was able to, I was walking around no problem afterwards.
Right.
I'll do exercise with my kids. So, first of all, aside from the fact that I'm healthier and I'm focused more on health, I'm not even thinking about it, honestly. It's like, it's built in. I'm not a buff guy. I'm not like one of these guys that's ripped with the six pack or whatever. That's not my focus. My focus is to be healthy. My focus is that I can run around with my kids and have a good time. We were at the park a few weeks ago. I was at the park one random day with my kids a few weeks ago. And I don't remember what we were doing. There's a soccer goal. I just ran over, grabbed the top of it, and started doing some pull-ups, just like in the middle of nowhere, and then just continued on. And when my kids see this, they want to be more active also, which is so much more important nowadays, I feel, than when I was growing up. Because nowadays, with all the screens and all the distractions and everything else going on, they need to maintain that. And I want them to maintain that because I know what it feels like to not maintain it, and I know what it feels like to maintain it. So aside from the fact that I feel freaking awesome every single day, and you know what? The craziest thing, there are times that I'll do a workout and I'm in so much pain afterwards, I actually start laughing. It's like, I know that it's doing wonders for my body, and I know that I could push through it, and I know where it's going to get me to. I put up a pull-up bar outside of our playroom, and my kids will try to do pull-ups or hang from it, and I'll do push-ups with my kids sometimes and all sorts of exercises. So I've gotten a much healthier lifestyle. I sleep better. During the day, I feel that I have more energy. I get less run down. I could do a lot more physical stuff. So it's changed my life in so many ways. And I'm not telling people that they should be doing intermittent fasting. I'm not telling people what diet or whatever. But it's important that you find what works for you and what fits into your schedule. Like if you have a schedule where, you have 10 minutes of downtime, you could take a 10-minute walk even. Do that. Like I take a walk with my wife every single night. It's about a 15-minute walk, give or take. And we obviously weren't always able to do that. Depends on your kids' ages and what your situations are. So don't start leaving your kids alone if they're 3 and 4 years old, please.
Right.
And
up where you are, it's like 3 degrees below zero. It's like, we're going for a walk.
Yes.
Taking the 3-year-old out.
No, so we do that though.
Bicycles.
We went through the summers, the winters, the springs, the falls, and it's hot sometimes, it's freezing other times, and my wife and I both enjoy it. We push each other to, no matter how busy I am and what I'm doing, I'm going to make time to spend time with my wife, make time for exercise, and make time for my kids. Those are the 3 most important things. There's a lot of offshoots from that, but we fit it into our schedule. We've been doing it for a few years now, and we get time together. It's busy, as you can imagine, with 5 kids, and until we get to sleep, we're ready to go to sleep for the most part. So we get out, we get our exercise, we get time to ourselves. So when you're walking, you're not really looking at your phone. It's hard to really, we walk at a decent pace. So you're not like sitting there like, oh,
hard to do one of these.
So we keep our phones away. Sometimes we have to take a call. That's just life.
Right.
Life is not going to stop. Sometimes it's the kids need something. Sometimes it's a friend, it's a relative, whoever it is. But for the most part, we try to focus on each other, and we'll talk about things that we may not have had time to talk about, or something that came up that day, or whatever it may be, just to get out together. So
Mm,
exercise, being healthy, has literally changed my life in so many ways.
yeah, I agree. I mean, for me, I've always been an extremely fit like person, like those guys you all talk about, big buff guys. I mean, I'm not so much anymore. You know, I have muscle and stuff now and muscle tone, but I also still have a bit of a belly, so I'm more built like a gorilla now. Round,
Nice.
but heavy shoulders. But yeah, like before, man, it was like we go to the playground and I would just sit, kind of do one of these,
Right.
and now, man, this phone, this is my personal. I have two for my work and stuff, but I don't know if you can see it in the screen. Obviously, the listeners won't see it, but I
Right.
busted my phone because I went down the slide with my daughter,
Yes.
and I mean, it was a tall slide. I think probably was 20 feet in the air. It was a big one, but I went down it like 15 times that day, like back to back. And she's like, "Come, daddy," and I'm like running up the thing and going back down that thing. Before I couldn't even do it once. I probably wouldn't. I would probably got stuck. My gut or my hips or whatever would have got stuck in the slide. Now I can actually go down, and I mean, to the intermittent fasting thing, I actually kind of do that. Um, me and my wife read a lot about health and stuff like that. I read a lot of books and stuff like that, and they talk about intermittent fasting, and I'm just not on the train completely, but I do like I used to eat three full meals, three full squares a day. I don't anymore. I eat breakfast and dinner, and that's it. I do not eat lunch at all. But reading about that intermittent fasting, obviously, I'm no health coach or nothing, so don't take my advice. Just read about it from a professional. But some of the books I was reading, it talks about when you almost set your body into a small state of hunger, just for a short period of time, your body releases endorphins and hormones and stuff to try and heal because it almost thinks like you're in a state of like despair or whatever. So,
Mhm.
but you only get a little bit. It's almost like getting exposed to like a cold or something, just a little bit. You get a little bit immune, a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better each time. It's the same concept. It's actually your immune system that is actually fighting that hunger in the same way as it would fight a cold. So what it does is it heals your body and makes you what I was reading is they had people that say their skin got better, like nicer, like acne went away, and stuff like that. Yeah, like they get overall more energy because they're not starving themselves for days on a time. They're just not eating lunch. They eat
Right.
a good sized breakfast, make sure they're good for the day with plenty of calories and whatever else they got for breakfast, and then they just don't eat until dinner time. Dinner time comes around, do the same thing. So you basically every 12 hours you're eating a solid meal. Um, and it like for some reason that's what it says. So I started doing that based off of that information.
Mhm.
And for me, honestly, that's exactly what happened. My skin got smoother, my hair got nicer. Yeah, I got more energy. I got more interested in things like sex with my wife and stuff like that. Like all kinds of things started happening, got more healthy. And it's a version of intermittent fasting. It's just a smaller version.
Right.
Um, and then overall I just got more interested in eating healthier, and then I started that's kind of what started me in this train of 10 push-ups, 20 push-ups, 30 push-ups, and then more and more and more, getting healthier and slowly tumbling down a thing. But now, I mean, like you said, you were talking about the lawn thing. I was like, man, that's so relatable because that's exactly what I would do. I live in Florida, so it's like 98 degrees with 100% humidity in the summertime. uh, I have I live by the beach, so I don't even really have like an eighth of an acre. What I mean? It's probably under an eighth of an acre. It's like a little tiny, what I mean? Overall, it probably takes me 45 minutes to mow and weed eat and trim any bushes or whatever I have. Like 45 minutes to do everything, the whole thing. I would go outside and do 15 minutes on just the front portion of the lawn, and I'd be back inside with like a bottle of water, like, oh, dying and stuff, like freaking out because I'm so hot. Now, like middle of the summertime, 98 degrees, I'll run out there, I'll mow the whole thing, front, side, back, go out, grab the weed eater, weed eat the whole thing, trim all the bushes, clean anything up, edge the whole thing, and then I'll go outside and I'll start working on my garden even more, because I got a little garden with like a couple different things. I got pineapple plants all over the place. But yeah, we do. I'm doing all this, and the whole time, none of it I even had an even remote interest in stopping. I just kept going, just working and doing things and having fun. Then I'll come back in, grab the daughter. I'll be on my knees, playing because she watches Bluey, and like I said before, all intents and purposes look like a gorilla now. So she calls me ooh ooh. So I'll do one of these. I'll go ooh 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 ooh, and I'll throw her on the back, and I'll run around and play with her and stuff like that. And then I'll go back outside and work some more. And before, man, 15 minutes outside, I'd mow, and I'd be all I want is water and cool off. I'm just not like that. So that little bit, it's really put me in a life of just everything's better. I have way more energy. My mental focus is better. I have more interest in things. I play with my child more, spend more time with her. And then on top of it, I feel, I feel like I'm modeling for her. You know what I mean? She is gonna want. I mean, she's 5 right now, so it's more along the lines of I don't want to brush my teeth, but uh, as she sees it growing older, because my wife does it too. My wife does, we call it pink kicks because it's a pink video and she does her kick moves and whatever. But she does it on TV and she does her 45 minutes or whatever every day, So my wife sees that and they bought matching shoes, so she'll go over there. My daughter will go over there and try, and obviously she can't do the moves, but she'll try, you know. And so she's almost like you can see that it's slowly turning. The gears are turning in her head, and she's wanting to do what we do. So if I'm, smashing cheeseburgers, being fat, and smoking cigarettes, it's probably what she's gonna want to do.
100%. They model us because they're looking up to us. We're their parents.
Right.
So as fathers, especially, like they say, and it's cliche, but it's true.
Even when she's like, "I hate you, Dad." Yes.
Right. That's part and parcel. Come on.
Right. That's part of it.
But when, like, for me, my sons, this is like, I want them to see, how do you treat your wife? How do you maintain your house? How do you treat your kids? It's a big picture. And for my daughter, this is what I want you to have for your future. So when you're looking for a husband, look for something like this. Don't settle for less, because you're worth more than that. And that's like one of the most powerful things to me is whatever I am, that's what my kids see. Our kids see what we do. They don't listen to what we say, realistically. And we were all kids. We know what it was like when, a memory is going to be more of an action than of a conversation, or the conversations, the memories are the ones that stand. Oh, I know that this person did X, Y, and Z, or I remember that happened. So we're programming our kids with their subconscious, and we want to, as fathers, as dads, we want to give our kids those tools. The best way to give those tools over is to become that person. Become that person that you want your kids to become. And realize it's going to take time. It's not going to be a quick turnaround, but it's worth every single second and every bit of energy you put into it.
The worst part about having good conversations is they can go on forever. Right now, we've talked almost about an hour, maybe close to an hour, and I'm already seeing a couple topics to jump into to keep going. Jonathan, obviously, you've been fun to talk with. We want you to come back. I know Mr. Pancake's right there with me because I can see him enjoying the conversation as well. I know you have stuff to do today. Obviously, I have to get back to doing some work eventually, or I'm gonna be trying to find a new job, which, call me funny, I really don't want to do.
Yeah.
So with that, I'm gonna cut this off for everybody else. If you can hang on, Mr. Pancake and I want to talk to you a little bit more, but before you go, where can people find you? I want people to be able to locate you, reach out to you if they have questions, if they want to pick your brain. What's the best place?
So the best place right now is going to be Twitter, or X, as they've called it now. I do have a shortcast, a podcast that's short. Keep it condensed, so it's about 10 minutes an episode, quick, easy bites to listen to, and I try to encapsulate one idea per. That is the Evolved Dad shortcast on a lot of platforms. You can go to tedshortcast.com, TED, shortcast.com. I have a newsletter as well. Until the end of the year, I have a Telegram group to help give dads, some thoughts and ideas and tasks, keep them going till the end of the year. Um, Actually, all that is the evolvedad.com/new you. So everything is there, the link to Twitter, the link to Spotify, and the link to Telegram.
And we'll have those links into the show notes so anybody listening can pull them up, click on them, and get right to you in case they didn't have a chance to write that down. Anyone that wants, they can go to callwithdads.com where you can find all of Mr. Pancake's information, past episodes. You can find anything really on us. Mr. Pancake's bio, my bio, articles that we post. We try to be active. So, Jonathan, thank you again for being here. I am serious, we're going to ask you to come back again, try to figure out a time because, like I said, there's so many other topics that I'm seeing that we can dive into just from this short conversation that I'd like people to get more of you, more in-depth conversation and ideas from you. So thank you again for being here. Hold on for us for just a moment, and this will be the end for everybody else, but they can catch all of our other shows either, like you said, wherever you want to find podcasts, you can find Call of Dads as well. So thank you again.
Okay, thank you.